Hello and welcome back to Burgundy Banter, a Box State Footy Rapids podcast. My name is Juanners.
And I'm Judgmental Jim.
And we are back after a lengthy amount of time away from the mic. The Rapids are now 5 games. There's now 5 games left in the Rapids season. We'll go through all of them here in a bit. But some stuff that has happened since the last Burgundy Banter. 2 matches, both on the road. One to LA Galaxy, who are last in the Western Conference, and one to SKC, who weren't last, but pretty much, are some of the bottom feeders of the Western Conference. A 3-0 loss against LA Galaxy, not only an LA Galaxy team, but a heavily rotated LA Galaxy team as they chased for Leagues Cup play, and then 4-2 on the road to Kansas City, a loss there. I'm going to hit it over to you, Jim. What are your initial thoughts of the 2 games? I'll let you pick whichever one you want to start with first. They're both kind of there's nothing to write home about either of them, but they're both just kind of a real gut punch after a great time when the Rapids had the best table positioning that they could have dreamed of before these 2 games.
Yeah, well, that's ultimately it, right? You come out of a pretty good summer window, or an active summer window, I would say. The average Rapids fan would probably have some optimism going into those games, but complete opposite effect on the result. And we can start with the LA game. Going into it, last place team, right? You think, well, maybe we can go in there and get 3 points, perhaps blow them out. And instead we got blown out. And so by a heavily rotated B team. So very disappointed there. But then you go to Kansas City, kind of hoping for kind of a refresh, and then you take a 2-1 lead, and then you botch it down, and it's 4-2 loss. So 2 very bad results in what would have been 2 optimistic games, 2 teams below us in the standings. And so those were games that you should have won, and that were kind of must-wins from a point of where the teams are at in the standings and the current situation. So, yeah, LA game was terrible. We can start with that.
I mean, if the Rapids had won the last 2 games, we would have been in 5th place, with every reason to believe that the playoffs are pretty much in the bag. I want to go back to the LA Galaxy game because they're both bad results, and I think they're both different bad results. One in the sense that this LA Galaxy match, the Rapids had a bad performance. It wasn't just a bad result; it was a bad performance. It was just not good enough. The Rapids, after 2 big victories, one at home, which you should have won against Atlanta, a 3-1 victory at home where you played a 3-4-3. It looked fun. It looked engaging. They come out in this 4-2-2, 4-4-2, whatever you want to call it, that we had seen a lot in the early part of the season. I mean, this was the formation that beat San Diego, right? A team that was all about their possession. But in this one against the Galaxy, the Galaxy were more than fun to just kind of play through whatever pressure we had built, whatever pressure the team had kind of allowed themselves. I mean, all the goals are just one of them, the counterattack, the last one against Peck was after Aronson came on, and we'll have a lot to say about Aronson as well, but just a counterattacking goal there. Another one where the team, we were talking about it before, where just 2 guys in Elijah Widener and Harbor Miller, who had been rotating, like not even rotational. They had been like reserve players, had stepped in and made it easy, absolutely easy to just tear through this team, through Mickey Yamane, who probably loves playing against the Rapids more than any other fullback, I think. But yeah, I just want to highlight how bad the team played there, because it was it was not the response. I mean, it's one thing to lose this match, and you had a good performance. The Rapids lost and didn't show anything for that. What were your thoughts on the Galaxy game?
Well, when we were watching it back before we started, like a lot of sequences in that game was one Galaxy player dribbling through 3 or 4 Rapids players and getting 10, 15, 20 yards out of that run. Like you said, like they were just picked apart and ran through. And a lot of the guys doing it were just guys, bro, like just hungry players. And so it's a very alarming performance, and it kind of goes in the Kansas City performance a little differently. We'll get into it, but yeah, just kind of completely ran through. And so many sequences of players just running past multiple Rapids players getting caught out in transition defense, just kind of the same old story, different location. So
yeah, I also I mean, the less said about this Galaxy game, the better, because my thoughts were, if you're gonna lose against the Galaxy like this, it's real embarrassing. But then there was kind of a little bit of like, okay, well, a lot of other teams dropped points, and here this week, this past week, and we're recording this on Saturday, which is not usually the case for Burgundy Banter. But there's no Rapids game day today, so we're free to just kind of ponder about this team for another week, do a little quick recap. We'll be back next week, of course. We'll preview the next game, because it is getting to that point now of like, these are make or break games, especially with where the Rapids are at. There's still some teams that have some games in hand on them. I mean, Houston has some games in hand. RSL, Dallas, Sporting, they are very, very, very far away from really making any noise. But if they go perfect, there's also a world where the Rapids don't go perfect, right? So it's this. I mean, it's 2 steps forward. Now we're officially the team has officially taken the second step back with this loss against Sporting Kansas City, a 4-2 loss. Conceded very early in the match, 4 minutes in, kind of very similar to the game at home where the Rapids had a penalty kick and they missed that one. Instead of Georgie missing it and hitting the crossbar, it is Rafael Navajo. So these guys were kind of, to less of a degree, sticking to script, as one would say. But sure enough, the Rapids would end up scoring an equalizer through a beautiful pass from Cole Bassett to Rafa Navajo, who, before I it's tough because at this point in the season, with where the team is, Navajo is kind of you need him to be a DP level player. And so far he has been. I can't deny the production. I can't deny the goals. I can't deny his work rate. I mean, right now, if you look at the American Soccer Analysis database, he's like the 3rd best striker in the league, right? So that doesn't happen on accident, and it happens. We've on the Rafa Unlocked episode. We talked about how he needed service, and if he was in a team that wasn't going to consistently give him service, then he's the kind of guy to go and press and win his duels and win the ball back in advantageous spots. So he's like Navajo is what you wanted for so many years, is just a striker that can score, that can do the things. And overall, I still think that he's being let down by just the personnel around him.
Yeah.
But what are your thoughts on that? Because I'm still very much.
Excuse me.
You're good. I still very much would prefer that DP spot be spent elsewhere, but I can't deny the man his production as he climbs to the towards the all-time single season scoring record.
Yeah, and I try to look at what he would look like on other MLS teams with other rosters, that like other teams that might need a striker but might have better like personnel around them. I'm very curious to see what those numbers would be. I definitely think that the ability and the work rate and all that stuff that you mentioned is there. Um, but I do think at times that it's a personnel issue or it's a lack of service. Really, his only service was through Georgi Mihailovic for a while there. So I mean, you could definitely get more production out of him should you have better resources around him. That's kind of my take. That's kind of always been my take. Yes, it feels like sometimes the overall stats are a little underwhelming, but let's say for the most part, maybe if you give him more service, he'd put up more goals. I still think he's having a good year though.
Yeah, he has missed some penalties. He hasn't been quite automatic.
Yeah,
from the spot.
He's not been consistent there for sure.
But I mean, beyond that, I wanted to highlight the Rapids' formation here because they played out of a 5-3-2, and they had Bassett and Aronson as dual 10s, as dual 8s in front of Larraz as a 6, with Hoffa and Yappy up top, and like for as bad as that LA Galaxy game was, the Rapids did have a fighting chance in this one against SKC. There was a lot of set-piece chances taken by the team. They probably could have very well capitalized more on it. Pulskamp, had to stand on his head for some of it, but so too did Zach Steffen, right? So for as good as the goalkeepers were, it was still kind of a goal thriller here. It's just kind of still like that finishing that needs to occur for the team to really, feel confident in their goals. And I got to talk about this second half from the Rapids because it's been a constant theme now with the Rapids where they take a 2-1 lead and they struggle to score thereafter, or struggle to even get a shot on target. I mean, after those 2 goals in the first half, there was no shots on target from the Rapids. There was a total of 5 shots. And one of them maybe could have been a very good chance by Calvin Harris, but the rest of them, we're all just either blocked or off target. And it's one thing to pile up the XG like they did, and they sure did with their set pieces, and they are very close to one. It's another thing to just concede goals.
Yeah.
And I have been sounding the alarm about how atrocious the defense has been. And I was saying, you replace Cheeto Awazian with Rob Holding, but I don't think that solves anything. I think you still have a very porous defense here. And conceding 4 against SKC, I know they're on the road, but I mean, up until this point, SKC, had been one of the worst teams in the league. Like they are shit, dude. It's not that they have been and now they're good. This team's not making it to the playoffs. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, we talk about the way they concede too. It's not like SKC was scoring bangers or bombing balls from 35 yards out in the top corner or whatever. Like the goals that they were conceding were just positional nightmares for the Rapids. Just bad positioning, guys too far up, guys not back. Just like we watched the replays before the pod, just really bad positioning and maybe 1 or 2 mistakes from Steffen as well. But that seems to be a common theme of road games. It's just these really crucial mistakes, but they happen in bunches.
Yeah.
And it puts the nail in the coffin on trying to get a good result. And had the Rapids maybe tried to stay more locked in and try to preserve the lead a little more on the road, then they would have had a better result, but they just can't seem to do that. They can't seem to play with a lead. And it's really frustrating. And come playoff time, if they're there, you have to learn to play with a lead because that's the only way you're going to advance. So,
yeah.
Sound the alarm.
Well, you know me. I sounded the alarm back in back at DCU for what? For
Yeah, the Juanners panic button.
And that was the first one. That was with Georgie, and so I there has been another one. It's tough because if you listen to the pod before the Atlanta game, I was very hesitant to buy into this Rapids team, right? Because I just knew on the other side of all the good vibes was either a bad game against Atlanta to be had, or like they still have to prove it. Like this Sporting Kansas City game, I kind of have been teasing or looking towards as like, yeah, this is such a trap game, but you can't even call it a trap game anymore, because this was a game where you have to prove that, like, as the Rapids, you have that killer instinct to like finish off teams and punish teams and stake a strong claim. I mean, other teams around the league are starting to, really make their statement, trying to rally for something. I mean, in the East, you got Charlotte, who are, 8 straight wins, and it's not like their roster is any more well spent or more, more spent than the Rapids, right? It's not like I'd put those two teams on pretty equal level when it comes to spend and maximizing from a roster position. But overall, I just can't help but feel that this team just shot themselves in the foot, and it's taking me everything not to look the other way for these last ones, because I'm like I really hope it's not a case where they shoot the other one and crash out of the playoffs here. But any other thoughts on this SKC match? I do like the 5-3-2. I did like Aronson a bit more when not coming on as a sub when the game is pretty much gone. But anything else you noticed about this game?
No, I don't really have anything. I was there, and it was very painful when they had gone up after a 2-1 lead. We were getting some shit, and so it's the way it goes, and it's what I expected. But being there and just seeing a downfall at someone else's stadium is not fun. And so I was luckily fortunate enough. My first away day in Dallas was a 90th minute Yappy winner. So I knew that I wasn't going to get that going here, but I was at least hoping for a 90 minutes of competitive football, and unfortunately the Rapids didn't give me that, so it is what it is. And I probably won't be back to KC, that's for sure. But hoping going forward the Rapids can figure this out. I mean, right now, if you were to ask me, do they make the playoffs? It's a tough question. I would say no, with the way that they're playing. I've seen it far too often of just shooting themselves in the foot. So my trust is not there based on the track record, but I hope they prove me wrong.
Yeah,
and that's my take.
One interesting note is, did you see the fan forum from Porrick Smith?
No, and I actually was I was supposed to go, and I didn't because of timing and all this lot. So I did watch it. I don't really remember much from it that stood out to me. But I also don't remember anything ever. So,
well, what I had gathered from the fan forum is that Chris Armas, that they were looking to renew him, or that they had at least some plans following the match. Sure. Here. There does seem to be some uncertainty. Burgundy Wave is kind of reporting that, like in the post-match that Chris Armas may have been, he's kind of unsure why it's taken so long for the contract renewal to come. And so here's the direct quote. Armas on contract talks. There's been some discussion. It's not moving as fast as I'd like, to be honest, but I'm hopeful. This is where I want to be. I love the team. I love the fans. With the 5 games to go, I would have liked to know where my future is. And I think this is this is where it's going to be interesting, because on one hand, the fan forum you're hearing, hey, yeah, we're working on that. It's going to happen. And then on the other is kind of a little bit of uncertainty. Now, I've been a vocal Armas, I guess, denier. I've been very harsh to a lot of to a degree on him, and overall, I think there's a lot more to be desired when it comes to the tactics and how this team plays, especially at altitude. But what do you make of like the whole situation here? And with 5 games left, are you seeing a Rapids in 2026 coached by Chris Armas?
Well, it's the kind of the he said she said is definitely interesting. Why it's taking so long, I would think, has to do with maybe a little bit of uncertainty from the Rapids point of view, but it also just could be purely based on clauses and numbers and agents and all that crap. The Rapids are generally pretty slow or not super urgent with their negotiations of any kind. So I'm not surprised that it's taking long. But you also look at the recent results, like, well, if you want a contract, you got to get the results. And so, the last 2 losses were not necessarily penned as wins, but penned as games that you should be competitive in, and you simply weren't. So I'm not completely shocked that the contract is not sealed and signed and delivered. And nor would I be shocked if Chris Armas was no longer the manager of the Rapids at the end of the year. Look, I mean, you have to make the playoffs. That's the bar at this point. With the way the season started, with the way that the whole season has played out, like you have to make the playoffs. The talk has been there from the front office, from the coaching staff, that like we want to be a playoff team. You go back to the old, God damn it, the old Rapids Way segment, like, perennial playoff team. So I'm not exactly sure Chris Armas would be the manager next year. These next 5 games are crucial, in my opinion, towards that contract. And if I was on Football Manager and I was a chairman or something, I would be questioning doing that contract too. So that's where I stand. I don't think it's all dependent on results.
Yeah, right. And
really where I'm at.
I think all sins will be forgiven if there's a strong playoff run as well, because for as much as Porrick Smith had touted the appearances in playoffs and the appearances in CCLs, there hasn't been any advancement there. It seems like more often than not, these, especially CCC, has been more of a detractor than anything else. I mean, you start the season off with, kind of a, and the Rapids did win that 2-1. They won against Comunicaciones, even though they lost on penalties, but that was a 1-0 win, and they did win 2-1 at home at DSGP. So there are wins. I don't mean to say that they, haven't won in the playoffs, right? Now they had that Leagues Cup run as well, but when it matters most, when MLS Cup comes around, the team has not shown at all a win in MLS Cup. Has not advanced in all the times in the CCC, no matter the opponent, have not advanced the next round. So that it's one thing to hype up making it there, but I think also fans are conditioned to believe that the Rapids aren't really going to do anything in these competitions, and so we'll just have to see. Any thoughts on that before we kind of look at the next game and do a little bit of table watching here?
No, not really. Just, like you said, advancing is really what you want at this stage. And you can make the playoffs, sure, but if you're not advancing, what's the point of all that work in making the playoffs? So I think what most fans want to see is just that next level, right? Just take that next level, advance at least a round, or advance to the next stage of some tournament. And right now it's not even talking about that. It's just talking about getting there. So on to Houston.
Yeah, let's move on. Let's kind of lay out the land here. In the Western Conference, the Rapids are in 8th place with 36 points. They are 2 points behind Austin in 7th, who have 2 games in hand on the Burgundy boys. 3 points behind Portland, who have a game in hand. 5 points behind LAFC, who have 3 games in hand. And 8 points behind the Seattle Sounders, who have 2 games in hand on them. So about everybody above us in the standings has a game in hand, which means there's plenty of reason to believe that the gap above us gets wider. And the gap below the Rapids, you have the San Jose Earthquakes, who are 1 point behind in 9th place. They have the same amount of games. Houston Dynamo, who are the Rapids' next match, they have 32 points. They have a game in hand. So this game is a must-win for them. They play tonight, actually. So we'll see what that game looks like. Or the dynamic of this match will change depending on that result tonight. Real Salt Lake are 5 points behind the Rapids in 11th with 2 games in hand. FC Dallas, 6 points behind the Rapids with 30, and they have 2 games in hand in 12th. And then SKC are very far away. I'm not going to even entertain them at this point, but they did get that. They did get that win against the Rapids, so I mean that's what they kind of needed if they were to be alive here. But all in all, San Jose, Houston, Salt Lake, and Dallas are the teams chasing the Rapids. And funny enough, RSL, FC Dallas, and Houston, all of those games are 3 of the next 5. And
that's crazy.
Yep, it is. This is where, as Chris Armas, you make your money, and this is where
you prove your contracts.
This is where you either put up or shut up, because this is. I can't think of a more crucial 5 games for Chris Armas than these ones. And then once you get into the playoffs, I could see the club justifiably bringing him back, even though I don't think that should be the bar anymore, with how easy it is to get in the playoffs nowadays. So, how are you feeling about the playoffs so far? I guess let's talk about Houston first, right? Because that is the match coming up next Saturday. What are your thoughts at home? This is a must win.
Well, it's at home, dude. It's at home, and dude, if you're gonna be this, team talking about playoffs and Chris Armas talking about getting a new contract, this is a game you have to win, dude. It's a must-win game. It's a 4-point difference, right, between the two teams. 32 for Houston, 36 for the Rapids. So, you have to win this to try and widen that gap. And I think the Houston Dynamo are a beatable team. So it's a must-win game, Juan. I don't know how else to say it. I don't really care what formation, what tactics you run. Chris Armas, play your best and win this game.
Yeah, man. I mean, I could. There's a lot to be cautious with the Dynamo, because before their 3-2 win against St. Louis last week, they had 6 games without a win. Last time they won was on July 5th against San Diego, before their last match on the 30th of August. So, I mean, this isn't a team that has had much. They haven't had much momentum for them, right? A 3-2 win against St. Louis could be what they need. But, I mean, against the Whitecaps a couple weeks ago, they made it ugly. They kept it close, and they won. They're playing the Galaxy tonight, so it can be a completely different dynamic if next week they come around with all 3 points. I mean, tonight's going to really show you how desperate this Dynamo team is, and it kind of comes down to which team is more desperate. I could kind of see Houston making it very ugly for the Rapids, both just, from a foul perspective, from a, I do think, Houston, when they have their first strength defense when they have their first team in there, they are a tough team. They have depth, they have quality. It's just, for whatever reason, Mr. Ben Olsen just is misplacing the pieces. So I'm quite scared of the Dynamo, to be honest.
Are you? Oh my God.
And it's only because of Lawrence Anali, who is the type of player that could run right at Rapids players, that could run right at Reggie Cannon and beat his guy and be the difference maker. Like they have those guys, and their table position is very sneaky because, yeah, they have been rather mid, but they have shown to, have some good moments. So we'll come back next week to kind of really, I don't know, maybe I'll write a little preview for this one, because with only 5 games left, this is do or die for the Rapids. And at home, you gotta win. You gotta win at home. All of these next 5 matches, 3 of them are at home. You have home against Houston Dynamo, home against Minnesota, and home against LAFC. So I mean, those are 2 very difficult. I mean, all 3 of these are very challenging home games. You're not gonna get another Atlanta here. And then you got to go on the road and prove it against Salt Lake and Dallas. It is go time here. So, if I had to lean one way or the other, I'd say the Rapids are at a maybe 55% chance of missing, 45 making it. You know what I mean? And
yeah, they're just not favored right now. Not quite.
I mean, that's where I would put it. That's how I would kind of. It is kind of a tilted coin flip in one way or another.
Sure.
But yeah. Any thoughts on this one before we wrap it up?
Is Rapids killer Andrej Linger in there by chance?
Yes, he's in there.
Oh God. Yeah, dude, that dude gave me immediate like PTSD, like he's the next Rapids killer vibes during that away game. So like the dude came in on his debut and like scored a fucking game-winning goal, of course. So
yeah,
only the Rapids shall allow that to happen, and hopefully won't allow that to happen this next game. But
yeah,
Andrej Linger.
I mean, him and Nolly. I mean, Jack McGlynn will be back.
Griffin Dorsey, maybe.
Yeah, though I don't think Griffin Dorsey is their first choice anymore. He's been kind of mid this season, kind of a down year
that sucks.
him. But beyond that,
Jack McGlynn would be crazy.
Yeah, these guys have the weapons. They have the tool set to make life hard for the Rapids here. So I know it's not an official game preview. I may end up writing one out a bit more, may not. It's a big week in MLS next week. But Jim, where can they find you?
Yep, Judgmental Jim on Twitter. Paxmental Pim these days is the name on there. I'm gonna probably change that soon.
Give him one more game. One more game.
Yeah, the hype hasn't quite hit, but maybe it'll hit. But yeah, Judgmental Jim on Twitter. That's mainly where I'm at nowadays. So sorry, Bluesky. I don't know what happened to my account on there, to be honest with you. So
no worries. You can find me at Bluesky at Juanners.Bsky.Social. Follow Box State Footy by going to BoxStateFooty.com, following all those links at Box State Footy, usually for all of those. Thank you guys for tuning in to Burgundy Banter. This has been a Box State Footy Rapids podcast. You guys have a great rest of your weekend, and we'll see ya when we see ya. Bye-bye.